invisible flames are out. But a ladder company will have to go in to make sure the fire is completely extinguished. To limit life risk, only one ladder company will be chosen.
So you see all the trucks they all hover around the chief, and they want to be the one that gets picked to go in. And today it was our turn, so we lucked out. We got to go in and do some work.
Glenn, grab a roof ladder with Stevie.
As the guys of Ladder 26 enter, the threat of building collapse is still very real.
It's always a bad situation if the building collapses. If something comes down on you, that's how you lose guys. A lot of guys get killed from, collapses. So, yeah, that's the worst nightmare.
There we go. All right, drop it down.
We put a ladder up in the cock loft and got up inside the cock loft and looked up there. The fire was in between two wooden ceilings.
The chief had a line sent up, so Glenn brought the line up, he handed it to me, I turned it around where we thought there might be some fire.
So I'm behind the ladder, and Lieutenant Kelly and Glenn go up there, and I lifted my arm up, and right away I felt like this shock come down my arm, and I'm like thinking to myself, I'm like, great, you already pinched the nerve, you just started working on the truck and you're already hurt, like, you suck.
Chief, yeah, there's another cock loft above this.
Once we started playing the line, we could feel it tingling, different parts of our body, wherever we were touching the hose.
Yow! Just got a blast in the half.
So we were yipping and nipping up there with one another.
I just got a good one.
There's quite a bit of electricity around here. I go like this and touch my coat and hold the ladder and I can feel it.
And then we realized that the electricity was still on in the building.
So I'm still thinking I got a pinched nerve, so I go over to grab the ladder, I'm like, I'm like, man, this is jacked up. Like, I'm gonna have to tell the lieutenant I'm like hurt already, and like I can't like be on the truck no more.
Electricity off? Yeah, the electricity's still on. Oh, okay.
So we hauled it down to the chief to see if we could shut off the electricity. He said it's coming in underground, so they can't shut it off.
This whole floor is covered with sheet metal too. Okay.
We got a pretty good jolt out of that.
Yeah, we're gonna come down.
I didn't realize it, but we were getting electrocuted, and I'm like, whew. I was like so happy. I was like, all right, I'm not so stupid. Well, I'm stupid for thinking I had a pinched nerve or something, but.
After putting out the fire extensions, Ladder 26 packs up and gets ready to head home. The fire was caused by a short circuit. Damage is estimated at $100,000. Steve's performance as a first-time truckie gets some blunt criticism from senior man Glenn Campbell.
Hey, don't ask. If you want to do something, do it.
As far as?
Like when you went in there and said, you want me to do that? Pull the ceiling? No, I'm gonna work.
Oh, okay.
So if you can get in there, do it.
Right.
Know what I mean?
Yep.
Never give anyone your tool.
I learned that you have to be aggressive in your search for work, which is absolutely the way I want it. And knowing that that's the type of guy I'm working with as Glenn is a good feeling, knowing I'm going to be with somebody that's not going to give me an ounce of work unless I fight for it.
He's going to be fine. He's eager to learn, so that's good, you know. Guys like that we need. I mean, I learned from Kevin, and now I have to fill those shoes, so I have to pass on my experience.
Man is ready. Gun is ready.
Oh, supper smells good anyway.
There's a lot of smoke. Glenn, he's my senior man now. He's the man, so if you had problems, you talk to him, that's how he is, so I'm lucky to have him as a senior man. I mean, honestly, if he wasn't here, I wouldn't be looking forward to, coming to work as much as I am now.
To find out more about our shows and ways you can do more for your community, visit our website. Here you'll find our TV guide, shows and catch-up videos,
Welcome to Crafty Beggars in the House.
latest news and interviews, competitions, our filmmaker and member pages and ways you can get involved. Don't forget to sign up for our newsletter for monthly updates and exclusive content. And join the conversation on our Facebook, Instagram and Twitter.
I'm the cocktail king.
Who told you that?
Everyone knows it's a well-known fact. I'll raise a glass to that.
Dad? It's triplets.
That's nothing! I've just rented a BMW 5 Series for only £49 from Sixt.
Sixt! Drive smug!
Every bit of
buying Dad's gifts, tricky mate. Every bit of this.
Nibbles weighing down my paper plates. Every bit of
Mistletoe, parrot slogging, white hat swimmies in the stocking, cracker jokes, baby screen, overspitted by the queen.
You bring the pigs, and I'll bring the blankets.
I love charades. I'm just bad at the hand bit. Best time for showing off terrible jumpers. No one does roasties in goose fat like Mum does.
On the time that we've had this playlist, the family sing-along's not the greatest. It needs some more word and custom now. Just doing the taste of all the Brussels sprouts. Perfect festive movie.
Every bit of this.
Till the trees come true. Every bit of every bit of.
Get Ancestry DNA, the #1 selling consumer DNA test for the lowest price of the year. Just £49. Ends Monday. This season, add a personal touch to your creations with Vistaprint. Send a Christmas card that gets a smile. Create a photo book of last summer's adventure. Or fill a calendar with family favourites. And now, during our Black Friday event, they're all 60% off until the 28th of November when you enter code VP2811 at vistaprint.co.uk.
Likely Loans likes lending like lightning.
At Likely Loans, we work hard to accept you, even if you've been rejected elsewhere. You can borrow from £1,000 to £5,000 and choose how long you take to pay it back, and at 59.9% APR representative. Once accepted, you'll have the money in your account the next working day.
Likely Loans like lending like lightning.
Surprise!
Supplies. I said send supplies.
Say again? We're throwing a whole lot of history at you now, as Standing with Stones joins intrepid explorer Rupert Soskin in his quest through megalithic Britain.
Sometimes, if you want to shed a little light on things, you have to go groping around in the dark. And let's face it, when it comes to our prehistoric sites, the truth is, we're in the dark about most of them. A little light can reveal some remarkable clues, but what it can never do, on the other hand, is show us the bigger picture. Imagine that our modern architecture could stand the test of time, and that in 5,000 years, all that was left were the shells of our buildings. There'd be nothing to tell the difference between an office block and a hospital, or a church hall and a jazz club, or even a warehouse and an aircraft hangar. And that's the problem with so many of our ancient sites. They look similar in appearance, but were they similar in function? Across the length and breadth of the British Isles, we have a breathtaking richness of archaeological heritage. Some mysterious and alien, some less so. This film is about that heritage. And it's only by being here, standing with these ancient stones, that we can begin to get a sense of that bigger picture, begin to understand what these extraordinary places were all about. I'm not an academic, and I don't claim to be an expert, but I have been exploring primitive cultures and prehistoric sites for many years. Now, the plus side of that is that whilst embracing current archaeological knowledge and theories, it does also give me the freedom to offer some contentious ideas from time to time without getting the sack. The downside of that, of course, is that sometimes I might be talking rubbish. Who knows? The purpose of this film is not to give a history lesson about our Neolithic and Bronze Age ancestors, but to explore and experience what they left behind. And as we travel across the British Isles, maybe we can shed some light on these mysterious places and the people who built them. So follow me. Believe it or not, this wall is about 5,000 years old. But look what it's a part of.
This is the Ballawall Barrow at Land's End, right down at the southwestern tip of mainland Britain. And its structure is unique in the whole of the British Isles. But its purpose, well, that's something else. There are burials here. And a burial site is very rarely just a burial site. And what's more, excavations have uncovered Bronze Age artifacts here as well, which means that this site could have been in continuous use for 2,000 years. And I wish I could tell you what it had been used for over all that time. The complexity of this site is fascinating. Some burials face outwards to the sea or the rising and setting sun. Others are internal in what would originally have been a dark and enclosed space. The inner section was probably built a long time before the outer ring, and like so many ancient sites, it's not unusual to have differences of opinion about when they were built and what they were actually used for. Archaeologists have a difficult task teasing the information from the earth, and without thorough excavations over a wider area, sometimes the conclusions have to be based on very small strands of evidence. We know there are Bronze Age burials here, but does that necessarily mean it's a Bronze Age building? We'll come back to the subject of dating later. To begin with, it's clear to see that contrary to the way our ancestors are so often portrayed, this kind of structure could not have been conceived by people who were savages, or indeed primitive.
On its own, this site is a mystery, but it does hold clues, and that's something we'll see time and time again at the sites we'll be visiting. As we travel across the British Isles, we'll pick up more clues along the way, and hopefully gain a greater insight into the lives of our distant ancestors. If I was to visit all the sites there are, you'd probably still be watching this film in a year's time. This end of the country is probably the richest in its wealth of prehistoric sites. Within just a few minutes of where I am now, besides any number of standing stones and cairns, there's the Merry Maidens Stone Circle, Tregaseal Stone Circle, the Nine Maidens Stone Circle, there's Boscawen Stone Circle, there's Pendine Valfogu, Carnuni Fogu, Chunquoit, Lanyanquoit. There's loads of them.
We'll get glimpses of as many as we can, but as well as some of the better known sites, we're going to travel to places that you may never have had the opportunity to visit, and quite a few you probably never knew existed.
You know those clues I mentioned? This isn't one of them. And to further confound you, this is not a stone circle. Every region has its idiosyncrasies, and that's what fascinates me. All across Britain, you find stone circles, standing stones, cairns, dolmens, barrows, henges. Perhaps these other structures can shed some light on the oddities, such as this one. This little monument is called Menontoll, And myth has it that passing through this hole can cure your ills. It's even said to aid women's fertility. People believe all sorts of things, but in reality, and you'll hear it said a lot on this journey, we just don't have a clue what it was for. What we do know is that even a modest arrangement, such as Men and Toll, leaving aside the size of some of the sites we're yet to visit, would have taken considerable time and effort to create. And that scale of time and effort could only be afforded by sizable communities. That's communities of people with a unity of thought.
Olympia and its new Eau de Parfum Intense. Feminine fragrances by Paco Rabanne.
Introducing Fitbit Ionic, the smartwatch for your health and fitness.
Made.com. Beautifully designed chairs, sofas, tables, and accessories for less than you'd expect. Made.com. Free delivery now on.
Yves Saint Laurent presents Why? It makes everything possible. Why follow old paths when I can create new ones? Why have dreams if I can't fulfill them? And the more I ask why, the more I dare to become. Everything starts with a why.
Why? The new fragrance, Yves Saint Laurent.
Brighten up the streets with the footloose, fancy-free, fiercely independent Fiat 500. Or the roomy, do-it-all, family-friendly Fiat 500L. Or if adventure's your thing, get out there, be bold, be unflappable, be whatever you want with the Fiat 500X. And now in the Black 5-Day event, get 0% APR for 3 years and free paint.
I don't know about you, but I find being foxy all day exhausting. There's nothing better after that than kicking back and taking on the house. Ooh, I'll have that.
Hey, get us a bomb cake, will you? I could eat a horse between 2 bread vans.
Samsung 49-inch curved TV, just £549. Go Argos.
Kevin was firing his new water pistol. Champagne was flowing in flutes made of crystal. The wine from Bordeaux had a license to chill. Glasses were filled with festive goodwill. Then Kevin told Katie,
"You only live twice."
but his espionage plans were soon put on ice.
Hello? Oh, hi. What are you watching? Screaming Wheels. Oh, what's that then? Fishing. Is it good? Yeah, it's really fun. It's got lots of celebs fishing and stuff. What's it called again? What? The show on the telly. What show? Hello? Oh, hi. What are you watching? Screaming Wheels. Oh, what's that then? Fishing. Is it good? Yeah, it's really fun.
Don't forget to watch Screaming Reels on Community Channel.
Often hidden away in intimate, secluded settings, the traces of our ancestors can still be found, frozen in time. It would be easy to walk straight past these archetypal Bronze Age maze carvings, but even such small remnants give us tantalizing glimpses into both the mundane and the more mystical aspects of their lives. It's partly because we tend to look out for big, impressive monoliths that many important signs of our ancestors' day-to-day lives sometimes pass unnoticed. Here at Routor, on Bodmin Moor, the remains of a Bronze Age village is almost lost in the landscape. But a closer look reveals the true scale of the site, which was probably home to large numbers of people. Out on open moors are often the remains of what could have been huge ceremonial sites, like the three-circle complex of the Hurlers, long since absorbed into religious folklore as men turned to stone for dancing on the Sabbath. Many smaller sites, like the gleaming white quartz circle further south at Dulo, can be easily missed. Tucked away behind hedges and farm walls, people pass them by unknowingly, leaving them to be appreciated only by the local inhabitants. Dartmoor is one of my favourite places in the whole of England, and I've been exploring here for over 20 years. 365 square miles of rolling moors with a huge variety of prehistoric structures. It's so unspoilt in archaeological terms that it gives us a much clearer idea of what the whole country used to be like. Miles of moorland covered in stone circles, cairns and kists, settlements, barrows, standing stones.
And these stone roads are a bit of a mystery, and Dartmoor has the greatest concentration anywhere. There's over 60 of them dotted across the moor, and of such variety they must have had lots of different functions. Here I'm at Merivale, right in the middle of Dartmoor, and this site has a bit of everything. There's settlements all around, there's hut circles over there, there's a big stone circle with a huge standing stone over there, there's cairns dotted all around, and these stone rows right in the middle of it all. And you want to see what's in the middle of this row. It's only small, but this little funereal box, called a kist, does imply that this was a processionary pathway. So what do we have here? A temple in the centre of a big community?
In many cases, the rows lead to cairns or stone circles, but of all the rows across the moor, none of them point in the same direction. Some people have theorized that they may have had astronomical alignments, but frankly, a line will always point at something, and there's so much inconsistency that the idea doesn't hold water. It seems much more likely that the rows didn't relate to anything outside the community.
But there's something else to bear in mind. These barren landscapes are entirely the work of our farming ancestors. About 12,000 years ago, the whole moor was covered in forest, and it was about this time that hunter-gatherers began felling trees to make the first clearings. The reason was simple enough. If you can encourage animals to graze in the clearings that you've made, then hunting is a much, much easier job. So people would stay around their hunting grounds, settlements would develop, until about 4,000 years ago, domestic farming had become a way of life. So did these rows lead people across open moor or through dense forest?
Up on this high ground, you get a real sense of the past. Spreading out across the landscape are all the signs of a fully rounded community.
Here, we're on the southwest side of the moor, on top of Gutter Tor. Way over there in the distance is Higher Hartor Tor, and you might just be able to make out down there the Drizzlecombe Stone Rose. These wonderful evocative names are sometimes the lingering legacy of a long-forgotten history. For instance, over there behind Higher Hartor Tor, there's a valley called Evilcombe. And I really wish I could tell you stories of black magic and ritual sacrifice, but actually the name comes from the valley's tin mining past. And an evil was just a short-handled pick that the miners used to use to extract ore from the rocks. So sorry to disappoint on that one, but still good for frightening the kids though. Let's go and have a look at those rows. You remember that little kist we saw in the middle of the road at Merivale? Well, this is a perfect Bronze Age example. It's about 4,000 years old, and basically it's a stone box, and it would have held the remains of an individual or even a family sometimes, with a cover stone, and then the whole thing would have been covered with a mound of earth called a cairn. This is Yellowmead, just north of Gutter Tor, that you can probably see up there behind me. It's where we were earlier. And this place is incredibly unusual. It's a quadruple stone circle. It's strange, there's no alignments amongst the stones to suggest astronomy, and there's no central kist to suggest an elaborate burial, just these enigmatic rings.